thank you, Mukesh, for joining us today. We've been a company that builds agents for enterprises, and a large part of what we've been building right now is voice AI. And while there's a lot of components to voice AI and AI agents, I want to talk today about exactly we keep saying human-like voice agents. What is human-likeness in any voice agent? Is it just about how fast it speaks, how slow it speaks perhaps, or something else also?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would like to suggest people listening to this to have a conversation with voice agent. I'm surprised a lot of people still haven't talked to voice agent. Once you have a conversation, you really intuitively know what humanness is or isn't. It's also having that context of how voice capabilities have evolved over the last 12 months. We may not have very good language to describe, but we know, we obviously know when we're talking to a human versus talking to AI agent. Now, with that context, you can try to think more deeply. What does it make human-like? It's a lot to do with just the accent itself. When someone talks to me in my, let's say, native language, the way I speak something, it feels more natural to me. India in particular, we have so many different languages, so many regional dialects and so on. So I think that is, one aspect. Second, there's something I learned in communication a long time ago, that communication is more about listening than about talking. Now, listening is, very intelligent activity. Like, for example, when I'm talking, you're listening to me, but you will say these filler words, and that seems natural. You will not randomly interject at any point. You will somehow know when to
acknowledge,
like for, just like how we just did, right? And this seems very natural. So how do we train AI agents to be able to have those interjections at the right time? If the person, human, at the other end interjects, not to confuse that and just stop talking. Like, for example, if you're going to interject, I will just not stop talking and start waiting for what you're going to say next. I know you are just acknowledging what I'm saying. So figuring out this is very important. Latency is one infrastructure side of things. People don't realize how much processing happens behind the scenes. Being able to do all of the real time where you're hitting literally multiple servers around the world and come back with an intelligent response within a second or so. And more, context. If let's say you and I are having this conversation, you are not going to forget what I said 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago. If I have a quick reference to that, you will immediately understand and factor that into how you are responding. If let's say, we had this conversation last week as well, you will have that context as well. You will not pretend or be totally ignorant of what happened, right? So all of this, context awareness, natural listening style, the kind of voice, one of the success we have seen at Nurix is now we are able to bring a lot of everyday person voice, a lot of people from Nurix office, around, people from the clients that we're working with. And that voice automatically sounds very natural, irrespective of, even if there's no change in the actual content that's been said.
You mentioned something about how we're thinking. When you're talking to me, I'm processing parallelly. It's not like I wait for you to stop speaking, then my brain then starts processing it and then I start speaking. And again, of course, I don't forget what you said 2 minutes ago and then start speaking. But you mentioned something about dialect and the humanness of, let's say, the fact that we are actually trying to clone. If you are a company that has thousands of agents, your top 10 agents will actually clone their voice to be able to make it real, human-like, because that's what customers are also okay with. And one of the core things I learned from that process was there are imperfections. It's one of the core things that is a giveaway for AI is it's too perfect. And you keep saying that. Tell us more about that.
No, absolutely right. When people hear to voice agents, they say it sounds robotic. What they mean by robotic is exactly that. It's does not make any mistake. It sounds too polished. It's almost like that creepy sales guy who is so polished. You can't trust that person.
You can't relate to them.
You can't relate to them. You can't trust that person, right? So same thing. How do we inject these imperfections into voice AI agents, which are again not forced or artificial? I think what you said earlier is also very interesting, that as a human being, hopefully, you are simultaneously processing what I'm saying. How do we replicate that for AI agents? A big part of what humans do, we also acknowledge. Let's say sometime, you may not start talking about next topic.
Correct.
You may acknowledge what I'm saying. I see many AI agents almost becomes like a question answer type of thing. Human says something, this guy, the AI agent starts executing the job as opposed to truly understanding. Sometimes, or they say very robotically, I hear you, I understand your concern. but it does not show, that truly understanding concern is zeroing into that sentiment of what you're trying to say, acknowledging it, taking a pause and so on. So part of designing human-like AI agents to really figure out how do we replicate these things in a very, very authentic, natural manner.
Yeah, and one other thing that I've noticed is the fact that at the end of the day, the AI agent is there to, number one, of course, do a job. So it's becoming too transactional in nature. One of our clients has actually asked us to pause after, okay, let me look up the order details while AI can quickly pick it up. They want the customer to not feel like, oh, it just suddenly pulled it up. So those kind of pauses that are actually natural, because I'm also thinking while you're speaking, so on and so forth, it takes me a minute to type something, also matters.
Right. Building on that, part of, let's say, if you talk about human agent at the other end, the really good human agent are literally able to connect at a human level. They are, if required, they use their judgment and they can indulge in small talk. They can gauge so much from their tonality. Now that's the other big thing. Today, if you go, below the hood, you will realize that a voice is first transcribed and the text is sent to LLM. Now the tone is getting completely lost. How do you capture the tonality of what was being communicated and make sure LLM factors that in to come back with the response? A lot of, we use this expression tone deaf.
Yeah.
I think almost all agents are designed to be tone deaf, and that's some of the work we are doing at Nurix to really figure out how do we not only transcribe the text but also infer sentiment tokens and factor that into the response that LLM generates. So that's other part of, so just going back to really engineering human to human conversation, having enough space for small talk, empathy, and again that needs to be designed intelligently. You should not just take on tangent and you're taking care of the personal issues for next 20 minutes. But you should be open to that. If it is too transactional, that also does not sound authentic.
Yeah, and actually one of the powers of AI agents is the fact that instead of thinking about, okay, I need to train a human being for so long and then probably that person leaves, doesn't come back, I actually have this entity that can be replicated for every customer. So I'm democratizing good service for everybody. And that's hopefully the power that is being unlocked right now, but also can get better and better at it.
Yeah, absolutely. There are multiple things, right? What you touched upon. One is, one of the earlier conversations we talked about that there is always a Pareto, and even within Pareto there is the top 1 percentile or top 0.1 percentile. Now those people are worth their weight in gold, but so hard to find those. With the recent advances in agentic capabilities, we have seen it has become easier and easier to replicate. If let's say you give me call logs or performance records of top 0.1 percentile people, we can, with little effort, we can replicate that capability exactly. So now you have, like Star Wars, army of your perfect agent to be able to do work. And obviously these are kind of trained nearly instantly, and then you save yourself the effort of recruiting new set of agents, training them from scratch and so on. So the scalability of this is, absolutely.
And of course, everything is traceable. The transparency of the fact that you get the transcription, the emotion, what exactly happened is gold for companies. So there are lots of exciting things happening, I think. And this was lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Anantika.